Hey, if you're seeing this video, that means that you've placed an order with me and you've gotten your order, scanned your QR code, and it has brought you to this video. So I'm going to show you step by step how to apply decals. This is just going to be the basic way. In other videos, I will show you some really fun tips and tricks, but this is for the beginner, especially if you've never used them before. They can seem a little intimidating, but I promise you, once you've done it a couple of times, it's super easy. And no matter how hard you think it is, it's way easier than trying to draw this on your nails, okay? So you're going to start out with whatever decal you're going to use. You need a small pair of scissors. It just makes it easier because these are pretty small. A little container for water and a pair of tweezers. Now, some people use nail silicone stampers. You can put it on the nail however you want. For me personally, I like tweezers. It's just a matter of preference. And you're going to need a nail file. So first things first, I do want to explain that all of my decals, except for the French cut decals, which are printed on white, all of my decals are printed on clear paper. And the reason for that is because clear paper is thinner and it doesn't make the nail bulky when you lay it on there. It melts right onto the nail and it's just easier to work with. A lot of times white paper, it's thicker, it wrinkles around the apex and the cuticle areas, and it's kind of a pain to work with. So that being said, every time you do decals, it needs to start with a base of white gel polish. That's what's going to make the colors really pop, okay? So I already have this one painted and cured, and we're going to pick out which decal we want to use. So, you know, all decals come in 3 different widths, and there's 4, 12 to a sheet. So you just kind of, use your best judgment and figure out which one is going to fit the best. Now, it's always better to go, when you're doing something with a face, it's always better to go a little bit smaller than it is to go a little bit bigger. That way you get more of the design. And as you start using these, you'll start to learn what works and what doesn't. You can even use just half a decal. You can rip it, you can cut it. There's so many things to do. Excuse me. There's so many things to do. So because this nail has a pretty high apex, I'm going to use the larger size. And we're going to do this lion because he looks pretty cool. So if you're putting this on a client, if you're a nail tech or a DIY at-home girly and you're putting this on a client or yourself, if you're putting it on human hands, you need to trim really close to the line, okay? Because that way it'll look nice and neat around the cuticle area. If you're just going to be putting these on press-ons, then it doesn't matter so much, okay? So we're going to get this cut out, okay? So here we go. And then you're going to take just a little bit of water. I have a bottle of water that sits on my desk, and we're just going to put a little bit of water in there, okay? And you're going to go ahead and put the decal in the water and make sure that it is submerged under the water all the way, okay? And what you're going to need for this step is a paper towel, a couple of lint-free wipes, something like that, because you're going to want to have something to dab the excess water off of it. So I'm just using lint-free wipes. They're cheap. Okay, so after about 10 or 15 seconds maybe, I just take the tweezers and I pull it out. And then I always put it face down. I don't know, I started doing that way, and that's how I've always done it. And then you just kind of push out the excess water, okay? It doesn't have to be dry. Now you can see how easy that slides right off the paper, okay? So you're gonna slide it, hold it with the tweezers, okay? And then we're just gonna slide it right onto the nail. You're going to position it where you want it, and when you have it laying there, I push down in the middle first, okay? All the way down the middle, and then I start to roll out on the sides, and this is what's going to help minimize the possibility of any air bubbles. It's going to make it go down a lot smoother. And now here, I'm just kind of folding it past the edges because that makes it easier to file off the excess afterwards, okay? There. See how easy that was? No wrinkling, no nothing, not a single wrinkle. And that is why, oh, look, a tiny little wrinkle. In this design, doesn't matter so much, but my decals, they stretch a little bit. So I take a little bit of water and I get that wet again. And then I can just take my thumb and kind of drag it a little bit and it gets rid of that wrinkle, okay? So I am going to cut the video just for a second because at this point you need to let the decal dry and like kind of mold onto the nail. So when you're doing your clients or press-ons or whatever, you're just going to let this alone and you're going to go on to the next nail. So I'm going to pause this video just for, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes because I don't have anything to talk about for that long. And we're going to come right back and I'll show you the next step. Okay, I waited about a minute or so and you can tell when it has dried, it'll start to get a little crispy when it dries out, right? And so now we're going to do the filing. This is a very important step because if you don't get the filing pretty precise, then you're not going to be able to get a really good seal around the edge of the decal. Now, don't be intimidated, okay? It's totally okay. When I say precise, I mean you just want to get all of the extra off, okay? You don't have to be perfect. So I'm going to take, this is a, I'm not sure what grit this is. It doesn't say it, but it's pretty soft, okay? And we're just going to start filing. And I'm only using a downward motion because at this point the decal isn't sealed yet. So if you start going up and down, you run the risk of lifting that decal up, okay? So I'm only doing a downward motion. Now, I'm doing it fast because I do this every single day for almost 10 years now. And if you notice, I'm at an angle. You see the bottom of the nail here? I'm kind of at an angle. I'm not doing it like this because you don't want to have a white border around the edge of your nail. You want this decal to go all the way to the edges. So I'm doing it at an angle. Okay, so that looks pretty good. There's a couple of little spots there. We just kind of touch them up a little bit. Go really light. Remember, it's super thin paper. So just really light. And these little corners right here, I don't know if you can see that. Hang on. There we go. I don't know if you can see that little corner right there, but you need to get that off or else you won't get a really good seal. Now, you just go really light because you don't want to, if you've got some really nice crispy shape going on, you don't want to ruin that. Okay, there we go. Now, just going to take my brush, get the dust out from underneath, and we're going to put it back on the stand. Hang on, I got a little hair there. Of course. And then get all the dust off. Very important. Ooh. There we go. All right, so this is where we're at so far. Very easy. Here's the important part, the absolute most important part of this process. They have to be top coated and sealed with a gel top coat. It's just stronger. Regular polish is not strong. Regular polish top coat is not strong. It's not gonna get these, you know, the longevity that you're looking for. So always gel. I mean, it's 2026. Do we really use polish anymore? I'm sure somebody does somewhere. Okay, so instead of just a top coat, I mean, one top coat would be great, but I always start out with a base coat first, gel base coat. And I'm just gonna float my brush over because I want it to be a little thicker than than the average coat, but I don't want it to be too thick because I still want it to cure properly. And you want to make sure that you cap the edges. Every single edge. If you notice, my brush is going over the lip of the edge. There we go. Okay, base coat done. Now we're going to cure that for 60 seconds. Okay, now we've got the base coat cured. And now we're going to go in with a gel top coat. That way you have 2 layers of protection. You want to make sure you seal all those edges, cap that edge. There we go. All right, I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. And here's the finished product. So this took just a few minutes, and that was with me going slow because I was explaining, all the different steps. But imagine how long that would have taken to hand paint that. And you know what? Bless all of those girls and guys that can draw this by hand, because I can't, and that's the whole reason I started making decals to begin with. It just makes life so much easier, and that's why my motto is because nail art shouldn't be hard. Okay, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments, and thanks for watching. See ya.